The black SUV had been parked across the street for 3 days straight. Emma's hands trembled as she wiped down the diner counter, her eyes darting to the tinted windows for the 100th time that hour. She knew who was inside. She'd always known this day would come. "Mama, is that him?" Marco's small voice cut through her panic. Her 6-year-old son stood at the window, his palm pressed against the glass, eyes fixed on the vehicle with an intensity that shouldn't belong to a child. Her blood ran cold. "Marco, get away from the window. Now." But he didn't move. "The man from the picture. The one you keep in the shoebox under your bed." His voice was too calm, too knowing. "That's my papa, isn't it?" The world tilted. The shoebox. The single photograph she'd kept hidden for 6 years, the only proof that Dante Russo had ever been anything more than a nightmare she'd run from. How long had Marco known? This is a story that will grip you from the very first word to the last. If you want to discover how a 6-year-old boy held the key to reuniting 2 broken hearts, and how a single moment of truth changed everything, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Every view, every like, every share helps us bring you more stories like this one. Emma Carter had built her entire life around 2 principles: keep moving and keep Marco safe. For 6 years, those rules had worked. She'd left New York the moment she saw the 2 pink lines on that pregnancy test, disappearing into the endless sprawl of Chicago with nothing but a duffel bag and $300 in cash. She'd become invisible, just another single mother hustling. "Emma, I swear to you, your promises mean nothing." She bit out each word. "You're a killer. You destroy everything you touch. I won't let you. I know what he is." Marco's quiet words froze them both. "I'm not stupid, Mama." Emma's heart shattered. "Baby, I looked him up. At the library. When you were working." Marco's matter-of-fact tone was worse than if he'd been crying. "Dante Russo. Organized crime. The news says he's dangerous. That people are scared of him." He finally looked at his mother. "Is that why we left? Because you were scared?" Silence pressed down like a physical weight. "I was terrified." Emma's voice cracked. "Not for me. For you." His world. She looked at Dante, and all the old pain resurged. "His world destroys people. I couldn't let it destroy my son. Our son." Dante's words were barely audible. "Emma, Cristo, I didn't even know." "If I had known." "You would have what? Given up your empire? Your power?" She laughed bitterly. "You told me once that the famiglia was everything. That you were born into blood and you'd die in blood. There was no room for anything else. No room for me. I was wrong." The rawness in his voice made her flinch. "I've been searching for you for 6 years. Do you understand what that means? 6 years of every resource, every contact, every—" He stopped, running a hand through his hair. "And he'd been preparing. I made a list." Marco pulled a crumpled piece of notebook paper from his pocket, smoothing it on the table. "Of questions." Dante, still on his knees, looked at Emma. She couldn't read his expression. Devastation, hope, terror, all mixed together. She wanted to stop this. Wanted to grab Marco and run again. But her son's voice stopped her. "Number 1. Do you hurt kids?" "No." Dante's answer was immediate. "Never. Anyone who hurts children in my territory answers to me. And my punishment is—" He glanced at Emma. "Severe." Marco made a mark on his paper. "Number 2. Do you sell drugs to schools?" "No. I've shut down 3 operations that tried. Drugs stay away from schools, playgrounds, and family neighborhoods. That's non-negotiable." Another mark. "Number 3. Why did you become a—" He struggled with the word. A criminal? Dante supplied gently. I was born into it, Figlio. My father, his father before him. It's not an excuse. Just a fact. By the time I was old enough to choose differently, I was already too deep. And the people who depend on me, the legitimate businesses, the families who work for me, I couldn't abandon them. So you're a bad guy who tries to be good? The simplicity of it made Dante's breath catch. I suppose I am. That's what Batman does, Marco said thoughtfully. Batman breaks the rules to help people. Batman doesn't kill people, baby, Emma interjected weakly. Marco looked at her with those ancient eyes. Batman lets people die sometimes. When he doesn't save them. What's the difference? Philosophy from a 6-year-old. Emma had no answer. Dante did. The difference is Batman draws his nothing. And despite everything, despite 6 years of fear and running and crying into her pillow, Emma felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Safe. Dante's estate wasn't a house. It was a fortress. 30 acres of pristine grounds surrounded by walls that would make a medieval castle jealous. Guards at every entrance. Security cameras Emma couldn't even see but knew were there. And at the center, a sprawling mansion that looked like it had been airlifted from the Italian countryside. Marco's eyes were saucers. This is where you live? It's where I exist, Dante corrected quietly. I've never lived anywhere. Not really. Not since your mother left. Emma stood in the marble foyer, holding Marco's hand, feeling desperately out of place in her diner uniform and worn sneakers. A woman in an impeccable black suit approached, Dante's assistant, Emma guessed. Maria will show you to your rooms, Dante said. You'll have everything you need. Clothes, food, whatever Marco wants. I want to stay with Mama. Marco's voice was small. Of course. Dante knelt down. You and your mother will have the entire East Wing. Private. Secure. I'm in the West Wing. You won't even see me if you don't want to. But I do want to. Marco's words hung in the air. I want to talk more. I still have questions on my list. Dante's face did something complicated. Then we'll talk. Whenever you want. But right now, you and your mother need rest. You are everything. You and Marco, you're the only real things in my entire life. Dante. I'm not asking you to love me again, he cut her off. I know I destroyed that. But I'm asking, begging, let me protect you. Let me know my son. Let me try to earn back even a fraction of what I lost. She should say no. Should maintain her walls. But she was so tired. And he was right there. And for 6 years, she'd been carrying the weight alone. Okay, she whispered. But the moment I think Marco is in danger, you run. And I won't stop you. Dante's voice was absolute. His safety comes first. Always. Even before my own life. Emma nodded, not trusting her voice. Dante turned to leave, then stopped. Emma? That night you left. The conversation you overheard. I've replayed it 10,000 times, wondering if I could have said something different. Done something different. Made you understand. He looked back at her. But the truth is, you heard exactly what you needed to hear. You heard who I really am. And you were smart enough to run. Then why did you spend 6 years looking for me? His smile was devastated. Because I'm selfish. Because I'm a monster who can't let go of the one good thing he ever had. Because even knowing you deserve better, I can't stop wanting you. He left before she could respond. Emma sank into the chair beside Marco's bed, watching her son sleep in a fortress built by a criminal who loved them. And she let herself cry for the first time in 6 years. Not from fear. Not from exhaustion, but from the terrifying realization that she'd never stopped loving him either. Morning came with the sound of helicopters. Emma jerked awake in the chair beside Marco's bed, her heart hammering. But when she looked out the window, the helicopters were Dante's, landing on the far side of the estate, bringing in what looked like medical supplies and armed personnel. The Cordova threat. He'd said it would be handled by morning. Apparently, he'd meant it. Mama, remind them that war is expensive and peace is profitable. And if they don't listen? Dante's eyes went hard. Then I remind them why I'm in charge. By hurting them? By making it clear that the consequences of ignoring me are worse than the consequences of cooperation. Dante crouched down to Marco's level. Figlio, I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, sometimes I hurt people. Sometimes I have to do things that would give you nightmares. But I have rules. I don't hurt innocents. I don't target families. I don't touch children. And everything I do to maintain order. To keep the chaos contained. Like a king, Marco said thoughtfully. Kings have to make hard choices too. More like a warden, Dante corrected. Keeping monsters locked up. Even if I'm a monster myself. You're not a monster. Marco's certainty was absolute. Monsters don't cry when they read bedtime stories. Monsters don't spend 6 years looking for someone they love. Monsters don't, he pulled the crumpled list from his pocket. Monsters don't pass all my tests. Dante's breath caught. All of them. All of them. Marco smoothed the paper. You protect kids. You don't sell drugs to schools. You became bad because you were born into it, not because you like being bad. You only hurt people who hurt others first. You love Mama. You want to be good even if you can't be. He looked up. That's not a monster, Papa. That's just sad. The word broke something in Dante. He pulled Marco into his arms, and Emma watched her son hold his father while the most dangerous man in Chicago shook with silent sobs. I'm so sorry, Dante whispered into Marco's hair. For everything you'll have to see. Everything you'll have to know. The way he looks at you when you're not watching. Like you're the sun and he's been in the dark forever. It's complicated, baby. Why? Because. She struggled for words. Because loving someone doesn't always mean being with them. Sometimes people love each other, but it's not safe. Or it's not right. Or it's scary, Marco finished. Like how you ran because you were scared. But you loved him anyway. Yes. Marco was quiet for a long moment. Then, I think being scared and being safe are different things, Mama. You were scared for 6 years, but we weren't really safe. We were just hiding. But here, with Papa's guards and walls and everything, we're safe. You're just still scared. The wisdom of children, cutting straight to truth. You're right, Emma whispered. I am still scared. Of Papa. Of losing myself. Of becoming someone who accepts violence. Her voice broke. Of being happy, and then having it all ripped away again. But you're already happy, Marco pointed out. I see you smile now. Real smiles. Not tired smiles. And you laugh sometimes. And you don't cry at night anymore. He looked up at her. Maybe it's okay to just be happy, even if it's scary. Before Emma could respond, there was a knock on the door. Dante stood in the hallway, and his face was grave. Marco, can you go to your room for a bit? He asked gently. I need to talk to your mother. Marco hugged Emma tight, then slipped past Dante with a whispered, "Be brave, Mama," that made her heart clench. Dante closed the door behind him, and suddenly the room felt very small. What's wrong? Emma asked immediately. Is it another threat? Do we need to? No. He ran a hand through his hair. Nothing like that. I need to tell you something. And I've been putting it off because I'm a coward. She waited, heart hammering. Marco's birthday is in 3 weeks. Dante's voice was rough. His 7th birthday. And I've missed every single one before this. Every birthday. Every Christmas. Every first day of school. Every nightmare. Every triumph. 6 years of his life that I can never get back. Dante. Let me finish. He moved closer. Did Papa leave? Yeah, baby. Did he ask you to marry him? Emma's jaw dropped. How did you? I heard him practicing. Marco climbed onto the bed beside her. Yesterday. He was in his office, saying it over and over to the picture of you. Trying to get it right. Her heart clenched. And what do you think? About me marrying him? Marco didn't hesitate. I think you should say yes. I think we should be a real family. With a wedding and everything. He paused. And I think Papa needs us to say yes. Because he's been alone for so long, Mama. And lonely people do sad things. You're very wise for 6 years old. Almost 7, he corrected. Papa says my birthday party is going to be huge. With a bouncy castle and everything. Does he now? Aha. Marco snuggled against her. He asked me what I wanted. And I told him I wanted you to be happy. And him to be happy. And all of us to be together forever. He looked up at her with those dark eyes, Dante's eyes. So will you marry him, Mama? Please. How could she say no to that face? Yeah, baby, she whispered. Yeah, I will. Marco's whoop of joy probably woke the entire estate. The next morning, Emma found Dante in his office, on the phone again. But when he saw her in the doorway, he immediately ended the call. Emma. Is everything? Yes. She cut him off. Yes, I'll marry you. Dante froze. Then he was moving, crossing the room in 3 strides, lifting her off her feet and spinning her around. Yes. Yes. She was laughing and crying at the same time. You're insane. This is insane. But yes. He set her down gently, hands framing her face. I'll give you everything. The wedding you want. The life you want. Whatever. I just want you. The truth was simple. You and Marco and maybe someday more kids and a life where we're together. That's all. The rest is just, she gestured at, thank you for not giving up on me. Dante stood, pulling her close. I would have waited forever. Searched forever. Loved you forever. He paused. But I'm glad I didn't have to. I'm glad you're here. That we're here. That, Papa. Marco's voice cut through the moment. Sophia just told one of your guards that when she grows up, she's going to be the boss of everyone. You need to handle this. Dante laughed, the sound rich and genuine. She probably will be the boss of everyone. She's her mother's daughter. Hey! Emma protested. But he was already heading toward their children, calling out instructions in Italian, and Emma watched the most feared mafia boss in Chicago get wrapped around a 3-year-old's finger. This was their life now. Chaotic. Dangerous at the edges. But filled with love so fierce it sometimes took her breath away. Marco had been right that day in Dante's office, 6-year-old wisdom cutting to the truth. Family meant holding on to each other. All 3 of them. All 5 of them now. And never letting go. Emma placed a hand on her stomach, feeling the flutter of new life, and smiled. They'd come so far from that diner in Chicago. From the SUV parked outside. from the scared young mother and the desperate mafia boss and the boy who'd known the truth all along. The truth that love was stronger than fear. That family was worth fighting for. That sometimes the most dangerous man in the world was the one who gave you the safest place to land. "Mama!" Sophia called. "Come play with us." Emma headed toward her family, her chaotic, impossible, perfect family, and left the past behind, where it belonged. And so ends the story of Emma, Dante, and Marco, a family forged in fear, strengthened by love, and bound by promises that refuse to break. If this story touched your heart, if you found yourself rooting for them, leave a like and share it with someone who believes in second chances and fierce love. More stories are waiting to be told. We'll see you in the next one.